guys in the opposition, they don't have the majority.
So in a way, it's just sunlight.
It's just sunlight. So what you can do though is to look for faults.
Yeah, and
Any
those
errors.
faults have to stand on their own. You can't just be barking for the sake of.
Yeah. So for example, if you're the shadow minister for defense, and there's the minister for defense, and then they're talking about procuring F-16s and F-18s and whatever, fighter jets and aircraft carriers. From the opposition, you can basically look at, wait a minute, I Googled how much it's supposed to cost. Why is this 30 times the cost?
Okay, I'll play a devil's advocate here because I lived in Australia for many years, and I think one of the criticisms that they had about the parliamentary system was it felt very almost benign already because you had the shadow government always competing with the federal government, which in theory makes perfect sense. So when the federal government in power says we want to do this, it'll always be challenged by the shadow government, right? But that created a lot of we didn't get a lot of things done because that was the blockage. I'm going to object for the sake of objecting. How do we prevent that?
What basically happens when you have a shadow government, most of the time, is they will usually try to find fault in what what the administration or the government of the day is doing.
Professional fault finding.
Now, they may not necessarily actually
believe that?
They may not necessarily oppose the policies per se.
They're challenging it.
Or even challenge it. They may sometimes say, okay, actually, yeah, it does make sense, but let's look at the finances behind it and all that stuff. Let's see, okay, you guys want to set up this, I don't know, say flood control thing.
Yeah.
But we need to look at the financing behind it. So the shadow government has the ability to do that because when you have, let's say, Ministry of Public Works and Highways, instead of a department, let's say a Ministry of Public Works and Highways. So there's a...
Okay, this is very topical now.
It's very topical. We have the minister who handles that, right?
Okay.
He's from the majority party. He's from the main ruling party. Okay. And then the guy from the opposition, he's the shadow minister.
Yes, correct.
For that. Every time they have meetings, that shadow minister has to be there also. Right. So the shadow minister is going to be there. They discuss, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to procure these equipment, these supplies from this contractor, and they have all the paperwork. That paperwork also needs to be sent over to the shadow minister.
How do you prevent just opposing for the sake of opposing because you're from the opposite party and I have the right to oppose? How do you prevent the stalemate?
They won't be able to do anything about it. They will raise the question about it, yes. But they won't be able to do it.
Final decision lies with
a majority because they don't have. See, the guys in the opposition, they don't have the majority.
So in a way, it's just sunlight.
It's just sunlight. So what you can do though is to look for faults.
Yeah, and those faults have to stand on their own. You can't just be barking for the sake of.
Yeah. So for example, if you're the shadow minister for defense, and there's the minister for defense, and then they're talking about procuring F-16s and F-18s and whatever, fighter jets and aircraft carriers. Yeah. From the opposition, you can basically look at, wait a minute, I Googled how much it's supposed to cost. Why is this 30 times the cost? Well, I mean, because they're
privy.
Yeah, they're privy to all the what do you call this? The proposed quotations.
We have a storative system like that. Congress can get involved, but they're not privy from the get-go, correct?
Yeah, they're not. There's no real-time monitoring.
Okay, so right. It's only when there's a problem now.
Once the problem, it's like after the fact.
Congressional hearings, Senate blue ribbons, all that. But
the problem already happened, and that's the only time you're looking at it. Whereas when you're in a parliamentary system,
I can raise that alarm bell before it happens.
Before it even happens, before the actual purchase even happens, you already see. Wait a minute, this is how much it says it's supposed to cost. But wait, an F-16 is only supposed to cost this much. Why is this like 100 times or 30 times the cost? I mean, what's wrong?
And another advantage would be, correct me if I'm wrong, but another advantage would be because those two could always get into cahoots, correct? I mean, theoretically.
Theoretically, they could, right?
Yeah.
But then the leader, so this guy, he's the shadow minister for defense. Right?
Yeah.
And he becomes friends with the minister.
Yeah.
But then the leader of the opposition, right? The main like shadow prime minister, he's going to start saying, why
Yeah,
are
why are
not
you all agreeing
why
with
are you agreeing with everything? He says,
Yeah.
I mean, look, aren't you supposed to be raising an alarm about this? What? Look, everything he says, you're saying yes to. What's going on? So he might even decide to take that guy out.
But the whole party has to
The
decide.
party, well, he can decide first, and then the party will end up saying, yeah, we
Yeah,
noticed
that's
that.
what I'm trying to understand. The checks and balances are one advantage of a parliamentary system is you are not electing Orion, Perez, Dumdum as the prime minister. You're electing the correct movement party.
Yeah.
You win. All right. So now it's Orion leading it right now because you happen to be the head. But if you start doing stupid shit, we can, as the correct movement party, say, yeah, he's midterm, correct?
Midterm, yeah.
Like we've done that.
We
They've done that in the UK several times. Prime Minister of Canada didn't Trudeau get? Was that what happened with
that's
Trudeau?
what happened with Trudeau. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's what happened with Trudeau. Actually, one thing about Canada is they came up with some reforms that somewhat made it harder to remove the prime minister, because they long ago, it's like Canada wanted to have a prime minister who could be very much like the president of the US. So the president of the US is kind of secure in his position, right? They wanted to be a bit like the Americans, which I think was a big mistake. So they made it harder for a prime minister of Canada to get removed, and that's kind of why, despite
But he resigned, correct?
he had to, because eventually it just became untenable, all the problems that he caused. But early on, there were already people who really wanted to get rid of
But
him.
legally, if he hadn't resigned, could they just hold an internal election?
Yeah, they
and then just
yes.
remove him midterm.
Yes.
No, I'm just for the sake of no impeachments, no nothing.
No
It's
need
just
for
loss of
impeachment.
confidence is enough.
You see, the thing about impeachment, and sometimes a lot of Filipinos probably make the mistake of thinking, no, but we have impeachment. Impeachment is the same. No, they're not the same. Impeachment is, we impeach a person because he did something wrong.
Yeah.
Right? He committed a crime. He committed an offense.
Yeah.
Whereas loss of confidence is,
He may do something.
he may, or sometimes
something wrong.
sometimes it's just that we don't have confidence in his abilities anymore. He's getting senile.
Yeah.
He hasn't done anything wrong yet, but he keeps on making mistakes in his speech, and then like it's
So
very
had
embarrassing.
Biden, had it been like that, Biden
Biden
could have been swapped out.
He would have been swapped out early on. There's actually a very good video of former Prime Minister of Australia, John Howard, making a comment about what happened in the U.S. And he said, Biden's a friend of mine, but Biden's a friend of mine, but I basically think that if the U.S. had a parliamentary system, then people would have basically tapped on his shoulder and said, mate, it's time to go.
I gotta give you props for the Australian accent. You know what, Orion? That is one of the hardest accents to do because it's so caricaturized. Is that the word?
Totally bargain, mate.
Yeah, mate. I mean, because there's this idea of an Australian accent which is normally just nothing, sounds nothing like it. That's the original. That's the Australian, the bargain. Yeah,
bargain accent.
A good Johnny Howard impersonation. Wow. That has really opened up my mind a lot because I lived through both. But I was never, I was 14, 15, 16 in Australia. Couldn't care less about politics. But now that you're showing it, you're explaining it to me in this way, and we're putting that framework over our problems in the Philippines, I can see how this solution really makes sense because power is just too concentrated in ideology, like you said, personality based. Oh my God, emotions. It's all emotion. Like you just mentioned with Pinoy, we don't want to hurt his feelings. So
Oh my God,
110 million of us have to go, ay, wag sana, unless prescribed by law po, let's grow up.
It's kind of like tiptoeing around the problem because we don't want to offend him. It's like, no, dude, let's get rid of those. Get rid of those anti-foreign direct investment restrictions. I mean, that's really the sad thing about the whole thing, because I mean this book, Why Nations Fail.
That's a beautiful book, by the way.
This book really talks about what makes a country more successful and what makes another country that may be similar a failure. And it's not about the people, kasi tamad sila, oh, these people are bobo sila. No, that's not it.
But that's what we always say, right?
That's what a lot of people say, right? Oh, kasi mga tao, mga Pilipino, mga tamad. No, that's not what it is. Why is it when we're abroad,
Yes.
do a really, really great job, right? So this book basically says, no, it's actually the systems. The way they term it, they don't use the word systems. They say it's the institutions of the society. So there are all these examples of the exact same like cultural background of people. There's this place called Nogales in Arizona, which is it's just a town which is it is divided by the U.S. Mexico border, right? So one part, the northern part, is in the U.S. The southern part is in Mexico. It's got the exact same name, exact same people, ethnicity, and all that stuff. But obviously,
There's an imaginary line.
there's that imaginary line. But then
Different
the people
yeah.
from the south obviously are not doing that well in terms of economics and standard of living, whereas those living up north have a better quality of life. And what's the difference? The institutions. And again, and even before I read this book, I already had that same kind of insight, because every time people would ask a question, no, it's the people, it's not the system. Yes, it is the system. Look, North Korea,
I
South
was just
Korea.
gonna say that's
Yeah.
that's the best example I can think.
North Korea, South Korea, same people,
People.
same ethnicity, etc., same culture, blah blah blah. But wait,
A magical line.
magical line causes the difference in
No, yeah.
outcomes, right?
Come on.
Same thing, West Germany and East Germany, the same thing as well. You know, so very clearly, it's the kinds of systems that were in place that caused these divergences in terms of outcome.